It's very important in today's day and age to be authentic. It's something core in how I am, just how I relate to people. As Zikora, I try to be authentic and be as true to myself. When I think of culture, I think of obviously African culture. We as Africans now have a unique opportunity. I think for a while Africa wasn't cool. Now Africa is cool, beautiful, prevalent. It is here. The only way out is through. You just have to keep on going. It's not even easier to quit because then when you quit, then you have this thing at the back of your mind where it's like, I could have, I should have, I didn't. And that's not a nice feeling to have. So just keep on going.
Okay, welcome to the Rubasha Family Podcast. We have a very, very, very special guest in the building. I have Zikora Enweani. I hope I've pronounced that right. Enweani. She sells Jollof on the internet. She's the CEO at Kwikish, and she's really had a powerful vision. And the need for convenience has changed the way the world cooks. Most cuisines have adapted. African food, for the most part, has not. And Zikora had in her imagination, passion, the way she started to see how Quickish could change that. She's been curating the modern African pantry, creating products that make it easier to bring our flavors into everyday life without compromising on authenticity. But it's not just about convenience. We're in a moment where African culture is moving globally through music, film, and fashion, and food is also a powerful conduit of culture and should not be left behind. Cora has had the passion as a leader, as a CEO, as a visionary, bringing African flavors onto the global stage in new ways that feel relevant, accessible, and rooted. Her work has been able to sit at the intersection of food, culture, and consumer brands with a passion to be innovative, to create, to be able to bring up her roots and everything that she's known, to be able to serve people. Because at the end of the day, we are here to serve. Anyone who's come and done this with a passion like Zikora has had the mind, how can I solve problems? How can I serve? And in ways that we all love, such as food. So Zikora, it's a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So let's take it a little bit back. How did this entrepreneurial journey start? I want to kind of go into your entrepreneurial journey and then where you saw the need for this amazing business that you've created. Marketing is all about storytelling. Dad, when we first started this business, what did you say to me?
I said, yes, we do a podcast.
Why?
Because I want to tell our story.
Why?
Because I know the story builds a legacy.
Builds a legacy. And that is exactly what we do here at ETS Rubasha Media. We market your story on social media so you could build a legacy for those who come after you, to build your business and your personal brand.
Yeah, follow us on our platform. Go on our website, etsrubashamedia.com.
This is about legacy, and it is about showing up on social media every single day, because if you don't show up, your competition will. So I would say I've always grown up in an entrepreneurial space. So my dad is trained as an engineer, a mechanical engineer, but he's always done business. And growing up, I grew up in Nigeria, so I've always enjoyed, following him to sites. And when he's negotiating with contractors or whatever, I've just been fascinated with, I guess, business and entrepreneurship. My background, so I studied engineering. I studied electrical electronics at university, did a master's in energy engineering. I went on to work as an engineer. I did that for about 2 years, but it wasn't really for me. I just thought it was too long. I like numbers, but why am I writing 70-page Word documents? It just wasn't a good fit. So I switched, I left, joined finance, right? So I worked in an asset management that only invests in sub-Saharan Africa. So I did that for 4 years. But in my job, so my favorite cuisine is African food. And I hated that in my busy job, when I came back home, the only options available to me were to either spend £30 on Uber Eats to buy a meal, or I had to spend hours in the kitchen. So I got a Ninja Foodie 11-in-1, amazing product. But then most of the recipes I was seeing, I was like, "Ugh, okay, Chinese or Thai or British or American." I was like, how can I actually make Nigerian food in this? So I realized if this can boil rice, surely if I was to add like the stew base of jollof, I should get jollof. That's how I guess I came up with the idea. But
my first step then was to actually just buy the jollof paste on the internet because I wasn't just going to make it myself. But the ones I bought either had a funny taste or the labels had too many things I couldn't pronounce. And I called my co-founder up and I was like, "Oh, I'm trying to buy a jollof paste, but there's nothing on the market. Imagine if I was to make one myself." And then he was like, "You know, you can, right?" And I was like, "I can?" And he was like, "Yes." And then I guess 3 years later, here I am doing this full time. But yeah.
Wow, so what a journey into it, and I want to get into that. But let me ask you, like with Nigerians, why are you guys so smart? Like engineering and it's Nigerians, man. It's just there's something that's that's in the air.
Yeah. There's something
Engineering.
in the air. Honestly, I'm not really sure what it is. I think hustle culture is just how we are as individuals. Like even as a child, you're trying to sell a sweet to your uncle and auntie at the function. Oh yeah, give me five naira for this sweet. You're always trying to get some money. And honestly, I don't know. I think it's just something in the air in Nigeria. But yeah.
Well, what do you think you learned from your father when it comes to business or just the way he carried himself, even just within engineering, for example? What do you think some of the things that you learned from him that you still carry with you today while you're running a business?
I would say my dad always had a quote, "I never say die." And for me, that is something that I've always had in the back of my head. Or if I'm crying, my dad would be like, "Never say die." Like, always keep on going. Oh, that even in my engineering, oh, okay, this project is tough. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know this principle. He's like, "Come on, you can do it. Never say die." And now in business, I would say that never say die attitude is really helping me push forward. Like when you have a problem that seems like the end of the world. There's always like never say die. There's always going to be tomorrow. Like you have to push through. I mean, the only way out is through. So I would say that is one of the most core principles I've gotten from my dad.
And I think especially in business, that's never been more important. That's the best thing that you
Exactly.
can do is to never, yeah, because you know how
Never
hard.
say die. Exactly. You just have to push it through. There's literally no other option. You don't have the luxury to not continue, if that makes sense. So yeah.
And why engineering? Was it because of dad?
Yes and no. So I've always liked numbers and drawing, right? But as a child, I didn't really channel that into like fine arts. I channeled that into like technical drawings. So isometric drawings, building drawings. So that was kind of my channel. And when I was so in Nigerian secondary school system, I guess to get to the next step, like our university system is quite rigid, or I wasn't really exposed to other ways to join my love for drawing and numbers, that engineering just made the most sense for me. So yeah, that was why.
Okay, so we go through, and now with Quickish. So it's like because I believe I've seen Nigerians cook in the kitchen. They could be there for 3, 4, 5 hours. It's a whole shebang. But a lot of people don't have that time. And I think where we are, especially within the culture, with African culture growing, and actually, let me even start. You said so. You worked within a company where they do only investments in Africa.
Yes, sub-Saharan Africa. So it was an asset manager where we invested in like public debt. So talk about government bonds, or we took views on different countries via like for FX. So trading the FX and things like that. So I did that for 4 years. So it was a very interesting way to learn about the problems of Africa beyond, oh, we don't have good roads or this is a corrupt nation. You actually understand from the behind the scenes, okay, this monetary policy is messing us up, or okay, the rate at which we borrow and we can't really finance the debt is the issue. So that was a good insight to the behind the scenes problems of Africa.
So what I'd love to touch on that a little bit. What problems do you see a little bit when it comes to Africa?
I think it's very interesting from that perspective of finance. Is more so that we, unfortunately, a lot of our products, so by products I mean like our bonds or whatever we issue, is seen as high risk. And when you are deemed as high risk, unfortunately your interest rate terms are a bit higher than the other people. just throwing numbers out there. So let's say a G7 country could be borrowing at like 2%, 1%. But because you're Africa, you could be borrowing as high as 10, 15%. And now, unfortunately, so when you actually collect such debt with such high interest rates, you need to service the debt. You need to have enough money to be able to, one, service the principal, but also service the debt. And it's almost like because some nations are not producing as much, or we are, you have the issue of the budget has come out and is not really being allocated and being used to what it should do to, make the nation more productive or whatever. And then this is when the slips come, or, when people, instead of maybe looking for ways to generate money from the country, you default to sourcing high interest debts, and it just causes like cascading issues, or things like cocoa farming, when you're not, you know when you're just the exporter of cocoa, you're not really benefiting from the wider chocolate market. Just things like some little inefficiencies like that, in the way some countries are set up, that just unfortunately is birthed into this bigger problem, I would say.
Okay, so we go with Quickish. When did you realize you had a business on your hand? Just from the problem that you had yourself, what you had experienced, and said, "Oh, like I need to cook food." When did you realize? Wait a minute, this is a problem that many people have. This is a business, literally.
I think would I say I said this is a problem many people had? I think this was a problem I had. I see Quickish is a long way around of solving my issue. This was a personal problem that I needed to solve for myself. Like, I always say that I'm lazy, but I just love efficiency. And anything that is inefficient or very inconvenient, I steer away from. So to me, it was like jollof rice is one of my favorite cuisines. Sorry, one of my favorite dishes, but there needs to be an in between. So when did I realize I had a business? I think it was when I tried to buy the jollof paste and there was nothing. And I was like, this is such a common dish that there can't be nothing out there. And don't get me wrong, there were some, like, the small auntie here and there doing her business and stuff like that, but there was nothing elevated or nothing done to the level that really showed the glory and the beauty of jollof the way I, the consumer, would want to engage with it. Then I was like, interesting. There could be something here.
So you said jollof paste. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's a jollof
What
paste.
What does that mean for the people who don't know?
So jollof rice, so the process of making jollof rice is that you need to make a tomato, pepper, spice blend before you then add on your rice to cook with it. So jollof rice is essentially, in very layman's terms, is like rice boiled in a rich tomato pepper stew, as opposed to just water. Right. Now the issue comes when that base itself, so from the chopping of the tomatoes, the peppers, you need to roast them to get a smoky barbecue, smoky flavor to it, and then you need to like cook it in the pot to reduce the water. That on average could take you, from prep and cook time, about 2 hours just for the base. Exactly. So the jollof paste is essentially all that chopping, roasted, reduction, all in the jar. Now it's like, okay, take the jar, do whatever you want with it. So I would tell people, like, the most boring thing you can make with the paste is actually jollof rice. Like, I use it for pasta, I use it as a marinade. We just recently had like a jollof pizza residency for 2 months. The people went crazy for it. So yeah, that's what the jollof paste is.
So Quickish. So can you explain also the product? So what exactly is the product that you're selling?
So the product was, so Quickish, the brand, our first product right now is the jollof paste that
The
cuts
love
down the time you, yeah, the jollof paste. Yeah. So that is the product at the moment.
And what were you saying? It cuts down the.
So yeah, it cuts down the time you spend to make jollof from like 3 hours down to just 30 minutes, or 15 minutes if you do it in a rice cooker. So it's more so that convenience. And for me, my mission with Quickish is also to push the boundaries of African food. It's almost like expand your mind on what our flavors belong on. It's like the way people have done it with matcha. I mean, there's matcha cakes, matcha desserts, curry. There's curry flavored everything now. And it's like jollof is, to me, another great flavor that also belongs on anything. But because of how laborious it is to prepare that core sauce base, it doesn't maybe allow a lot of people to be imaginative or to be creative in the kitchen. But now that you have that flavor in a jar, you can go as far as your imagination wants to take you. Put it on anything. Like recently, I just did jollof pancakes, and it was really nice. But unfortunately, my follower was like, "Nah, there's no way this could be this could taste good." But I was like, "It actually does. It's like an elevated savory pancake that you didn't know you needed to actually taste." So yeah.
I love it. I love the innovation to exactly like, you know, push it out the box and just like even jollof, like for the same way everyone knows about pizza, everyone, you know, should know about jollof. So where did you see product market fit? When did you see that? At what point?
I think product market fit, I would say it happened. I am the core. When you look at your buyer archetypes or your customer archetypes, I was the core person, that young professional that loves Nigerian food but only has it on occasion because they're too time poor to cook for it. So I guess when I realized that this is something that I would buy just because of my standards, I was like, okay, yeah, crazy. This is something. And then interrogating some of my friends, I made small batches for some of my family members, and they're like, oh yeah, this is perfect. So I would say being the core demographic and knowing this would work for me, that was, I guess, egotistically when I knew I had product market fit.
Okay, and then what happened from there? How did this now go into a business? How did you start to scale? How did you start to get orders and get customers? And yeah.
So the first step for us was to realize, well, this is not a novel product. Like jollof pastes, anybody can make jollof, right? So we knew that the key asset here was going to be the brand, the vehicle at which we actually ship this out to people. So we got a designer in South Africa, very amazing lady. Her name is Dinewu. We spent about 5 months actually like, okay, this is the vision that my co-founder and I have for the brand, breaking it down from the colors, the placement, the icon. So worked for the brand for a couple of months and then went to source out a co-manufacturer. And because I knew there was no way I was making the sauce myself. Because I think the different routes to market, people would say, oh, make small batches, go to your local farmer's market. As I said, I was working a very busy job. The sauce itself is very time intensive to make. So I just knew we're just going straight to a co-manufacturer. We started just shopping around for a co-manufacturer, sent my tabletop samples to them. We tried to scale it up, whatever. And then after that, we launched. So let's say this whole process started in March of 2024. And then by October, we were ready to launch. And then our main mode then was Instagram. I mean, our main mode now is Instagram. So what happened? Yeah, made a post about it. But I think from jump, I already knew I was going to run ads. I wasn't going to rely on organic word of mouth because I feel like in this day and age that just takes way longer than it needs to. So straight out of jump, posted on Instagram, started running ads. And because it was Q4, people are already in that buying mode. So tapping into that, oh, do you want to host with your friends or cook jollof this Christmas quicker, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, so that's how we went from let's start executing to let's execute in literally less than a year.
So the ads, I mean, great point. Of course, now that if you put good ads, what was the creative?
Quite a few creators. I think then was jollof without the stress, jollof without the anxiety. So those are not the exact copies, but that was the vibe of the creative. Oh, make jollof in 30 minutes. And that was one of our best performing. This Christmas, make jollof in 30 minutes. And I think people were like, what? Jollof in 30 minutes? This can't be right. And then you buy it because you want to say this can't be right. But you're like, oh, actually, this is actually kind of nice.
Yes.
Because I think we have a lot of our customers or a lot of our reviews say, I was very skeptical about this. I bought it so I could hate on it. But now it's a repeat order in my household. So it's like, yeah.
To be honest, I can see how it would have taken off because especially Facebook, Instagram, they're both combined. People like my mother, that also age demographic, or that ad would have done really, really well.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think you learned about your customers? What do you think you're learning more the more customers you acquire? What are you learning about them?
The main thing, I think, with our customers, what am I learning? I mean, first of all, the first thing I've learned was that my ideal customer was not although I got the demographic right, so I knew they would be Black, West African, the age wasn't correct. So I thought the average 20-year-old would go crazy for this product, which they some do, but you have to be in a certain type of buying behavior to, because we currently are selling just online, right? So, and the price point is, although it's not expensive, but it's not the cheapest thing on the market. It's not your value product, right? So the first thing I think I'm learning about my customer now is the age demographic. It's actually the busy moms, the busy people that have the managers that, they still want to perform at work, but when they're at home, they want to be involved, but they might not want to spend too much time on the menial tasks like cooking. They still want to be present for their kids. They don't want their kids to have like frozen store-bought fish and chips every time. They still want them to have a connection to their roots. So what I'm learning now about my customer is that they're a bit older, so maybe the 34 to 50 age range. They're working, maybe more established in their careers, manager levels, they have kids, they're always hosting. So I would say in terms of demographic, that's one of my main core learnings. And I will say that another thing is how my customers actually value authentic flavor. I think from jump, so we manufacture our sauce in the UK. It's not manufactured in Nigeria, or I don't source my ingredients from Nigeria or Africa, just because of the logistical challenges Africa has sometimes with shipping things to the West. And, if you must manufacture food in the UK, you have a whole Bible of certifications you need to jump through. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me just manufacture this in the UK. Authenticity has been a good, like, scratching point for a lot of my customers of, is this authentic? And it's like, what does authentic mean? I am authentically Nigerian. Was taught this recipe by my very Nigerian mother. Is that authentic? But it does taste authentic. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I hope I answered the question somewhere in this blurb.
No. That is valuable. I also think maybe you did say to 50. I think it could even go to 60, mid 60s as well. Like, the reason why I'm saying that is because I see my mum as a customer, just because she, like, if she was to see an ad like that, she's the type of person that would potentially
Yes.
buy.
Yeah.
Quite powerful. So where do you see it going from here? What's next? How do you scale this? And then I was just also going to say, I also see eventually a little bit, even there's still the younger demographic from that 20 to 20, it's just the more they see this, those 20-year-olds who want to come cook, they want to make something for their partner. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, I can just see you guys dominating the marketplace in that, from the ages of 20 to all, from older. But yeah, so what's next? How do you scale this?
So right now, our strategy has been DTC first in the UK. The UK has the highest concentration per meter square of Afro-diasporic
Definitely.
people.
Yeah.
So the hack now is that once we can understand the UK's DTC market, I mean, yeah, the world is our oyster at this point. So Kwikish has been made with the idea of, this is a global brand. Start right now, our objectives this year is to just make sure our DTC machine is tight, and also from a supply chain, making sure we're working with the right manufacturers, making sure we're working with the right logistics providers, because those are the 2 points that the customer actually physically experiences. Social media is not a physical experience. And then hopefully to start infiltrating the EU. So we don't market in the EU, but we've had so much inbound from like Germany, Netherlands, Spain being our top 3 countries. And then hopefully start poking into America sometime, maybe this year or early next year. Yeah. And see how that goes, really.
How does it feel for you to be also like that being proud of being African, and then to be able to, build a business, build an economy around something that's a part of who we are? For example, like even with me, like, so I invest back home. I have Airbnb in Kenya, and I've been now helping the diaspora, which is our main audience, UAE, UK, especially UK, Australia, helping them invest back in Kenya, which gives a proud feeling. How does that feel for you, to be able to, still ring true to where you're from? And like I said, when I first met you, when I first emailed Zikora, I said, hey, I have to meet with this person. an African name, beautiful. And I see a lot of Nigerians. It's like a mix, that was awesome to see. So yeah, yeah, how does that feel for you?
It feels great. It feels lovely because I am very Nigerian. I am Nigerian to my core, and I see the beauty in it. I mean, it's a chaotic country, but there is a lot of beauty in it, right? I feel very proud that I'm able to reflect the food the way it deserves to be reflected with reverence. Putting it, showing it in its best light, showing it in a new way that people haven't really gotten to experience. Right now, right now my customer base split is 60% core West Africans and 40% non-West Africans. And it's very lovely when I have like a non-West African person try. I'm like, oh my God, this is a great flavor. I added it on my vegetables. I added on my this. And it's like, oh, I got a comment where a white lady told me this is the only pasta sauce my son uses. And it's like, I feel proud that I've been able to do what I said I was gonna do, which is like allow other people experience the great flavors of West Africa without the hassle, And now it's like, okay, you heard about jollof. Hopefully tomorrow, if you saw something, you're like, oh, that's West African. Oh yes, I've eaten jollof. You feel some sort of connection now to the country through our food and our flavors, So I feel proud.
Very proud. How was it like when you ran the ads and things like that, in terms of and you talked about a little bit with the supply chain, but when there's a lot of demand and orders, were you guys able to handle that? How was that period for you guys?
I think that has been a sore thumb in our past year of running Kwikish. We partnered with a manufacturer that was able to get us off the ground, but unfortunately or fortunately, our demand was so much that they just couldn't keep up with the supply. So I think that was something that unfortunately last year we did struggle with. Like, okay, sorry guys, we're out of stock. You place another order. Unfortunately, our manufacturer, prioritized, I guess, bigger, more commercial orders over us, a small business. So that really led to a lot of bottlenecks. That's why earlier I mentioned this year or Q1 now has been sorting out our supply chain, actually working with the manufacturer that can handle the demand we're getting.
Okay. And you're looking for an investor?
Right now, yes, we're looking for investment. So Kwikish has been fully bootstrapped from Ade and I. I think this is the thing about building a product like ours is we know the potential, right? You live it, you breathe it, you are in the culture. So you can see where the culture is going. You can see the opportunity to create a product for this market. And not just for the core people in the culture, but there's a lot of African enthusiasts now, just with more eyes on Africa. Yeah, so we are bootstrapped at the moment, and I see that we've learned the business with our own money. We've kind of de-risked it. So now we are looking for it. We've not actively formally started, but we are looking for investment now to actually scale the business now that we know how it works.
So let me ask you, if I put myself in the shoes of an investor, what's the biggest threat? What's the biggest threat if I was to invest with Kwikish? Yeah.
The biggest threat to you or the biggest threat to the business?
To the business.
That's a good question. Us not moving fast enough and another business coming to occupy that mind space. So as I said, Jollof is a very growing cuisine. Or Jollof is it's West African culture in general, African culture now is shaping modern culture, right? And yes, we've been able to move fast, right, the first year or learn the business in the first year. But now to actually assert dominance in this space, we need to move fast. So the biggest threat right now to us would be Kwikish not moving fast enough to establish that mind, to occupy that mind space in the customer. When you think of African food, you think of Kwikish. When you think of Jollof, you think of Kwikish. Because yeah, not to toot my own horn, but the business is a great business, and it's not about the great business, but it's a great business at the very great time. And if we don't move fast enough, somebody else might swoop in and take this opportunity. So that is, I would say, from my perspective, one of the biggest threats to it.
So what does it mean by move fast?
Move fast would be that we have done quite a lot of learning. So, okay, what is our biggest moat for growth? Is it paid advertisement? Is it influencer collabs? What type of content resonates? Okay, cool. What type of packaging do we need to ship this in? Okay, what vessel is the best for us to? We've learned all of that, right? But learning without application is just theory. So now it's like, okay, we need cash to put our learnings into practice, to actually deploy. So that's what I would say. Moving fast.
And do you have any competitors?
Good question. I think with our product, competitors playing the way we play for Jollof Pates itself, no. Now, but then when you look at, okay, what is a competitor to Kwikish? It's convenience. So convenience means I would rather just order this on Uber Eats. I would rather just buy microwave Uncle Ben's rice, right? Or competitors would be, there's some, as I said, we don't exist in a silo here, which Kwikish is just the first that has done it to that level, but there are other similar jollof sauce, jollof paste businesses out there. So those are the three spheres of competition. And then I guess a fourth layer could also be like just other cuisines. So for people that are not from the cuisines, and so now we're just an option of another thing to try. Oh, do I have Indian? Do I have Chinese? Do I have curry? Or do I have African? So that would be another sphere of competition. But in our core vertical of what we do, not really. Kwikish is one of the first brands to do what we're doing at this scale, which is why I guess sometimes it's hard to explain to people, because there's nothing to say, oh, that brand did it. No, we are the benchmark brand. We are the pilot. We are the frontiers in the space of what the opportunity is. So yeah.
What would you say that's been the most challenging time of building this business? What was the hardest moment?
Manufacturer, working with my manufacturer. I think especially when you are, Kwikish isn't ordering 100,000 jars every other quarter. You're just doing your little thing with your few thousands here and there. But then, working with a manufacturer that I might have a great brand. I might know how to market this product, but without the product itself, I have no business. And I think working and trying to figure out, please give me product last year was one of the most challenging times for me, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. And what's your dream?
My dream? My dream for Kwikish. My dream for my personal dream.
Both.
Okay. My dream for Kwikish would be, once anyone says, I'm feeling like African food tonight, you think of Kwikish. Or even now, for people to say, oh, I'm feeling like African food. Like right now is not an option. You feel like Chinese, you feel like Indian. You feel like I'm on a Thai curry, but I don't, the normal Joe doesn't feel like African. So I think it should be getting Kwikish to that level where, one, we're putting more eyes on African food, African culture, and then people can, fancy a cheeky African dish today. And, Kwikish is that brand. So yeah. And then I guess was my dream to push the culture forward. I think we have the continent itself is so vast and so many subcultures exist. I am Nigerian, and I think Nigerian culture, obviously, selfishly, is probably one of the best ones out there. And I would love to be part of the people that push that forward, to bring that to the West and let people see our culture and have reverence for it in the way it deserves to be. So yeah, that's my dream, to be part of that movement.
So back to the investment side, how much do you need for you to get this and take it? Like, what's the first move? Is it okay, we dominate UK, we go to America? Because also I'm even thinking about the American diaspora. My goodness, I don't know if by the way, has anyone thought of this idea in America? Because 300 million people, no Nigerian over there has thought of this idea.
You know what? In America, there's a lot of Nigerian restaurants, not a lot of CPG goods, right? And even if there exists, as I said, is your typical auntie doing her small batch on a Sunday and maybe sharing it on a Facebook group. So it's ever so isolated. There's no one big, okay, let me go to Trader Joe's and get this type product. Yeah. So to answer your question for investment, so right now we're looking to raise about 250K. We feel like that would give us a good enough runway to dominate the DTC space in the UK and then start poking DTC in the EU. So yeah, that's what those funds would unlock, and to make a stronger use case for a seed round when that time comes to obviously go into America and really own it there.
Is that British pounds or US dollars?
Oh, sorry, 250K pounds.
Pounds, okay.
Pounds, yeah.
And that would allow you guys to now. Who would you say would be a good investor? Who would be your perfect, if you were to pick an investor, you have 10 investors, venture, all these other people. Who would be your perfect investor who would give you your creativity, let you do your thing, also help open up with their connections, and who would be the perfect investor?
I would say right now for this round, an angel
Mm.
investor that understands the culture. I think Quickish is a cultural brand, right? And so somebody that probably doesn't have an appreciation for how culture now is moving the needle, culture is part of the new oil in this world we're living in. That wouldn't be somebody I want to work with. VC money is great, but it's too fast. You might not, some fundamentals might be lost, unnecessary changes to the recipe for cost savings, whatever. Right. So my ideal investor would be somebody that appreciates the culture. You don't need to be from it, but you just need to understand the place of cultural brands in today's landscape. Somebody hopefully with good connections across the industry. So it be manufacturing, somebody good at expansion as we look to the EU and potentially the US. And yeah, somebody that has has experience of scaling e-commerce brands or scaling CPG brands. Those would be my ideal investors.
Powerful. Well, I'm excited to see where you take this, and hopefully, we play a part in helping you find the investor. I think that's why this is great, and we'll be doing more podcasting with a few more ideas that we can continue to do and continue to get this out there. Is there any potential you see in the B2B space here? Because obviously this is more D2C. Where does the B2B space come in here?
Yeah, I think B2B space is very interesting. There is a lot of potential. So for context, so one of the verticals that we could explore will be schools, right? Now, I went to a boarding school in Bath and we had Africa Day. So every other quarter they would do Africa Day where we would have dishes from every African cuisine. And unfortunately, jollof rice they made there was not jollof. So I could imagine schools like that would benefit from it. Also, sometimes you have like the corporate kitchens. So, for example, Google's, the Facebooks, they have days where they make African food for, I guess, for a part of diversity week or something. Hey, I've heard from your colleagues that is tomato rice. That's not jollof rice. Use our paste. And also like food service. So we have a very interesting, so because our main asset here is the brand, even like collabs with restaurants and food service. So for example, I told you that we did the jollof pizza in November and December. That was really successful. Now we're in talks with a bakery house to do jollof focaccia bread, jollof pasta cooking classes, So there is an interesting angle there with the B2B that hopefully we plan on also exploring this year a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see potential, B2B, B2C. And yeah, so I have a game that I like to play, and I'll just give you a word, and then whatever comes to your mind, one word, you can say it, and then I can get you to explain, okay?
Okay. Stress.
Explain.
I think the concept of a CEO is a lot of stress and there's a lot of responsibility coming to it. I think going from an employee to a founder to a CEO, right? There's a lot of mindset shifts that you need to be ready for, right? And you need to be able to, and that comes with a lot of stress, right? But yeah, it's something I'm learning now, almost like how to have systems to manage myself so I'm not stressed, how to have feedback loops with my co-founder, okay, having more productive conversations to, okay, help me alleviate the stress and the responsibility on my shoulders. It is lovely. I do enjoy it, but it's something that I am in the phase of where I enjoy it now. But then it took me a while to understand, okay, how does Zikora operate as a CEO? And what systems do I need to build for myself to help me cope with the responsibility that this job comes with. So yeah.
I love that answer. And when you were working, did you always like was like having a business always in your mind a little bit? Even just maybe when you work in that company, the investment in Africa, was the business mind working a little bit, or you were just like, all right, I'm serving my job and I'm working and
I think I've always known I was gonna run something. I just didn't know what. I've tried different things in the past. I've dabbled and dibbled in one or two ideas I thought, but this was the first one where I think the idea came, I saw the opportunity, and I was like, Zikora, it's kind of now or never. There's no right moment where you're gonna feel super prepared to actually flesh out a business idea and see it to creation. So yeah, it's always been at the back of my mind, as I said, because of my dad. I'm the first child. I enjoy telling people what to do. So I was like, I need this. This is my North Star. I know I need to get to a job where I'm telling everybody what to do, So yeah.
love it. Nigeria.
Home. Yeah, that's my home. I'm a Nigerian through and through, and it's home. Yeah, there's not much else to say. That's just my home.
Food.
Quickish. Just because that's what I'm doing right now. Quickish. Just because, as I said, that's really what dominates my mind with food. Literally, almost every meal I make now, I use the jollof paste. My eggs, I use the jollof paste.
Love
My
taste.
lunch, I use the jollof paste. My dinner, I'm using the jollof paste. So I guess quickish.
You see, you're making me even now want to try it. I gotta
You have to. We need to figure out a way to ship to Australia.
and then
Yeah.
soon, when the rest, Australia's a bit slow, but I think it would take off here in Australia. It just as I said, it would take some time, but I think definitely there's a huge market here as
To
well.
find a good distributor,
Yeah, exactly.
that would serve the area.
Authenticity.
Important. It's very important in today's day and age to be authentic, and it's something core in how I am, just how I relate to people. As Zikora, I try to be authentic and be as true to myself, and then I hope that also comes through with Quickish and what we're doing. Giving you that authentic Nigerian, West African experience, but just elevated. So yeah, very important.
Culture.
I don't want to say important again. Let me think of the word. Crucial here. So when I think of culture, I think of obviously African culture and how right now it is, as I said, it's a shaping modern culture. We as Africans now have a unique opportunity. I think for a while Africa wasn't cool. Now Africa is cool. Everybody wants to be associated one way or the other with the continent. I mean, when you look at a lot of these financial projections, they say, 50% of the world's workforce in 2050 is going to be from Africa or whatever. Culture in the lens from African culture, very important, very crucial, beautiful, prevalent. It is here.
I'll even just like even kind of a funny joke, but it's actually kind of pretty true. I even remember like when I was younger, like and it's true. Like when I was younger, to even be dark skinned, you were kind of a little bit or ashamed or da-da-da. But now, hey, or
Now
like,
it's popping.
dark skin, everyone likes us. Everyone, all the women, dark skin.
Exactly.
It's we're now, but I was like, I always knew we were the ones, but it was just even we doubted ourselves. But like you're saying, so it's very very true. Like,
Yeah, I think now the world is looking at us and it's like it's time for us to own it. And I think it's very interesting because when you look at some of the cultural products or some of the cultural things that have happened, it's usually people not from the culture that see the opportunity and run with it, and then they make something that has just the label but it doesn't have the substance of what that culture actually means. I think Quickish or me doing this now is like, okay, I see the opportunity in the culture, but before somebody outside the culture sees it and takes it, let me be the one to do it, and let me be the one to do it authentically.
it's so true because there's some like white people could be so smart to see they see a business opportunity in this. And exactly, can you imagine that it could be a white person, a Chinese, who created Quickish? Can you imagine?
I would be enraged. No, honestly, because it's like even like for example, our African food shops in the UK. a lot of them are from like Indian backgrounds, or the people that no, or our hair care shops here. It's not a black lady, or very few of them are actually run by black people, and it's like, when are we going to take hold of what is ours and at least profit from it? There's no point. I mean, it's like when you look at, not tangentially, when you look at the hair industry and how black women are the greatest contributor to the global hair economy, but then how much of that ownership is actually black? Very little. So
We're just
yeah.
consumers, and I think that's why what you're doing is so powerful. And like you said, it's at the right time. This is for us to be creators. We, like, as black people, I want to be proud, but like, yeah, we're consumers with everything. Exactly. Like, how do other people see we're consumers of everything, and that's why I really appreciated you, and that's why I love what you're doing. Also, with your name was a huge thing for me, like, because Africans, we're consumers of everything. We have other people's names. Even in that sense, we have someone else's name that we don't own. So, like, when I also saw that, I'm like, man, this is a person who's moving with purpose. What does your name mean again?
So Zikora means show the world.
Show the world.
Which kind of lends itself. I'm like, oh, self-fulfilling prophecy. Here I am showing African culture to the world. Like, it was meant to be.
There we go. And I think even just leaving it on there, show the world,
Show the world.
We're here to show the world, and that's what you're going to do. So I'm really proud of you. And as I said, we're looking forward to, as I said, where can we go and find this angel investor? And guess what? We've just done a 40, nearly 50-minute podcast. So for someone now, we're looking for that. Look what we can send them, for someone to see the real you, to see, okay, wow. Because again, when you're investing in a company, in a real estate project, whoever, you're looking, and also me speaking with quite a lot of chief investment officers, family offices, the main thing everyone says is we look at the operator. Who is the operator? Who is the CEO? Who is the founder? That kind of tells us really everything. Could be a great product, be a great business, but if the operator, if we, you could tell if that person's not a shark, then and I can tell a shark when I see a shark, and I see you're a shark. Yeah, I really want to thank you so much for coming on and just expressing your passion. And yeah, I really believe in it, and I can't wait for more podcasts and more investments and Kwikish to come to Australia and the rest of the world.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for having me. I've actually really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Me too. Before we leave, is there any last advice you could give anyone out there who's watching this, especially who wants to be an entrepreneur, who is an entrepreneur, who's maybe going through hard times in their business and they don't maybe see a light at the end of the tunnel?
I would say the only way out is through. Yeah, I think that's why I would say you just have to keep on going. I think I've always said that the hardest part of building Kwikish has been me molding myself into the person that is capable and able to lead this business to the heights I know it can reach, and then more. So my advice would be like, man, the only way out is through. You just have to keep on going. It's not even easier to quit, because then when you quit, then you have this thing at the back of your mind where it's like, I could have, I should have, I didn't. And that's not a nice feeling to have. So just keep on going. I think everything looks glamorous on the internet, so try not to get sucked into it. If you're going through the trenches, that is 90% of what entrepreneurship is. Going through the trenches, not staying in the trenches. But yeah, the only way out is through. So yeah, that'll be my advice.
I love it. Thank you so much, Zikora, for your time. We'll stay in touch, and thanks everyone for watching this episode.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Hey, what's wrong? Bro, I'm stressed out. I'm running my business. I've got to serve my customers, but I need more customers coming in. I can't keep relying on word of mouth. Why don't you just use ETS Rabasha Media? Who? Well, with AI now, what they do is they go in, get your perfect clients, bring them in front of you. So all I got to do is run my business, and he brings me opportunities. Think about it. You speak to 3,000 of your ideal customers, convert 1% of that 3,000, that's 30 people. 30 people in a room with you, can you convert that? Of course I'll close them. I'm good at what I do. I just don't have time to be going and looking for my perfect client. Focus on what you love doing and let them bring you customers. When you win, they win, commission, ching. Sujira Rabasha, huh? Yeah, Sujira Rabasha. Go and Google them, man. Come on, take it to the bank.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're gonna love that one.